evening. I hope you guys have had some drinks and food. Let's come to Web 2. Right, we're thinking of Web 3. Yeah. Right. We've got some interesting founders and builders today. Right? These are leaders who are focused on scaling AI solutions in their own verticals, and the intent was, as you can see, to basically have a discussion, have their point of view of how they feel that how does decentralized AI tools versus your ongoing private and secure LLM models work, right? And before we get in, we just want to have like a quick introduction, starting with Jackie, then Calvin, Adley, Tina, and then Mackenzie. Sorry. Yeah, Tina is Adley, so it's the same. Yeah, Jackie.
Okay. So, hello everyone, good evening. Good to see all of you this evening. Thank you for having me here. So I'm Jackie from Tiger & Wolf, and what we do is that we're a boutique consultancy firm for AI solutions. Before this, I was developing a suite of privacy-focused products centered around identity. In my free time, I'm part of the Creative Collective, and the idea of Gen AI in creative field is quite a divisive area. So looking forward to talk about this. So next.
Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, Calvin.
Hi, good evening. Hello everyone, my name is Calvin. I'm from Pines AI, and we provide financial industry and insurance with a purpose-built AI platform for them to power their private and agentic workflow. And currently we have clients across US, India, and Hong Kong. And I think the main value proposition down here is that we think a lot of industry players are really late to the game, so they need a framework to get them started fast. So that's what we provide. Thanks.
Thanks, Calvin.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Tina. I'm co-founder and CEO of Adley AI. I'm an ex-business journalist, and now I'm using all my previous knowledge in content creation to make AI agents for marketing. So we help solve problems for enterprises who are looking for a secure solution trained on their own brand voice to create content. It could be for their socials, it could be videos, images, or anything across the value chain. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Mackenzie Matheson. I'm from Area. We're an AI orchestration platform, so our focus really is providing this secure foundation for enterprises to build, manage and deploy AI agents with as little code as they want. It's been an exciting journey so far. We're about a year old. Celebrated our year birthday just 2 weeks ago. Been seeing some pretty incredible results and growth, so it's a really exciting time for us at the moment.
Thanks, Mackenzie. So we've got like really diverse set here, right? Mackenzie is from Australia, right? He shifted to Singapore.
UK.
UK. Oh,
London, man. Yeah.
Cool. I don't know why I have Australia in mind. But see, like we've got folks moving across the borders, right? And this is quite a thing because a lot of top LLM and AI companies are also setting up shops here, right? Clearly, Southeast Asia, and especially Singapore, is the gateway to Southeast Asia for them. I'll start off my first question with Mackenzie, right? And then we can come back in. The APEC enterprises, right, that you're talking after, and that's where the focus is as well. They're demanding data segregation, transparency, decentralization, or are they just focused on the purchase decisions, like to just get this for us?
Yeah, I think they're focused on all of those problems. Can you list them again?
Yeah. So, basically, the transparency, right?
Yeah.
That decentralized AI provides versus the saying that give us the centralized models and give us everything inside.
Yeah, and I think there are many that we're speaking with are focused on those problems, but trying to strike a balance of how do they solve them. I think if you look at the decentralized models, there's some great benefits around transparency, the impact it can have on the tough regulations out here with data sovereignty, and being able to control that. But it's not necessarily a silver bullet. And ultimately that's where we're seeing that many organizations are looking for that balance or optionality of a mix of the both.
And also because like the focus is more on building the AI agents, right? So it's the workflows and the automation rather more than the data set that's being utilized.
Yes, the ability to use the right components for whatever the use case is. I think often the question is like, is there like one killer technology that's going to fit everything? And that's not really the demand that we're seeing. We're seeing that there's the individual components, so they're going to fit individual use cases, and organizations need to be able to balance that.
Just for folks who don't know like what area, if you have an analogy, they're basically a better enterprise grade version of N8N. Right?
Yes, I would say there's some key differences as well. So N8N, absolutely fantastic at automating fairly defined workflows. They certainly have the upper hand when it comes to having a whole bunch of pre-built connectors. They come from this RPA space. Our strength really is around embedding AI in your business processes and having that flexibility to do that while doing it in a production-ready and secure manner. I think that's something that is really often forgotten with some of these tools that are focusing on these projects where you're just building a prototype and not really thinking about what's happening next. So that's a big thing for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Thanks. How many of you guys in the audience have had challenges creating content at scale, on-brand content, SEO content, looking at, okay, how can I get discovery on the internet? Great. So this is what Tina and Adley AI are trying to solve with the way I describe them and the way I think about them is basically like they're your CMO AI agent and they're going to create content as much as you want, on scale, on brand, SEO and geo optimized. I'll let her talk about it, but the question to Tina is that does the decentralized approach help or hinder achieving consistency, right? It's different, right? Because like you're focused on creating copyright data, brand specific data, something that Coke will want to do will be very different from Pepsi, something what Gucci would want to do will be very different from LB. Right? So how do you see that, like when you're creating on-brand content at scale, where does Adley's prioritization lie?
Yeah, thank you, Shivam. So actually, I want to dive a little deeper. So, everybody wants to create marketing content. And the problem that we have right now is you can train your own agent or, you can do a custom GPT. Most of the people would say, I want to use one model and do a custom GPT. That use case works very well for a small or medium-sized enterprise. But when you come, the problem that you stated, large enterprises are looking at it very differently. Their problem statements are very different. They want to protect their data. They want to have a system that is very secure, can actually work across multiple large language models, and also have their own workflows integrated. For them, all of these concerns come into play. But most Calvin mentioned that there are customers, you have customers in the US and other geographies. Same for us, we have customers in the Asia region at different levels of AI maturity. And the concerns that each one of them has is very different at every stage. For some of the customers, the challenge is that I want to have efficiencies of AI which I'm not able to do myself, and I don't want to hire a lot of AI engineers to train a brand voice to create a RAG-based model or any model for that matter, so that I don't have to take that investment or that prompting, because we are soon moving to a world of zero prompt, no prompt writing. So the concerns that organizations have differ from what is the level of maturity that they have and where in the journey, like Mackenzie said, where in the journey are they and how they want to scale from there on.
And especially when it comes to content, I don't think anyone in the history of corporate or content building would have got their first content output right. right? Because so many rewrites happening, and every time you start rewriting something, the narrative changes, and what you started with and what you end up with eventually sort of differs. But with Atlee, you're able to control that.
Yeah, and what we are seeing now is the market has also changed dramatically. You know, when we first started, people were just talking about social media marketing. Now, if you've seen in the last couple of days, there have been shopping agents which have been announced. There have been partnerships announced for e-commerce. Now, you will be able to go to ChatGPT or any other agent and a chat interface. So conversation commerce is coming. And that is what we are gearing towards. You know, there is going to be a remarkable difference of how content was written earlier and how the content discovery is happening now. Earlier, you could write a blog, write a social media post, and then spend a lot of money on ads. But now organic discovery is also changing. People are no longer going to just Google. They're going to ChatGPT, they're going to Perplexity, they're asking for answers. They don't want to scroll through 10 links. So the user behavior changes, and some of the brands, like to come back to the question that you asked, some of the brands are really ahead in that journey. They already have their databases, every data sets, everything sorted out, and they know how they want to utilize that to reach the intent-based commerce or intent-based search which is coming in the future.
So, how many of the folks in the audience know about GEO as a keyword, Generative Engine Optimization? Right. So there's literally $1 trillion online search is getting disrupted, right? The SEO world is moving towards GEO. And what Tina is saying is basically the LLMs are now solving the problem of every Google or every search engine query that you did, wherein you type to say, hey, I want to eat in a good restaurant tonight, and you end up 1 hour trying to figure out from the 15 links what the best response is, right? And that best response now comes in the first prompt through LLMs. And what Adley tries to build is that GEO optimized content, so that you're not creating content for SEO to get discovered in the search listings. You're basically creating content that is solving or answering a question that people are asking, right?
Yeah.
And that now is shifted to Perplexity, to ChatGPT, and all the LLM platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. And the starting point of that, Shivang, is actually to know where you stand at the moment. So, you first have to start this journey by knowing whether, you're getting cited in a particular LLM. So audit becomes your first step to know, and how you do it is, there are a couple of ways to do it. You can sit and write these prompts and then search for your brand name on ChatGPT, you can go on Perplexity, you can go on any of these, or you could use platforms like Adley, which in a single go can help test across 10,000 prompts on all platforms and give you visibility score. So when you start that journey, then you will know whether your brand is visible anywhere, and how, or whether your competitors are getting cited instead, and how you build your brand visibility from there on.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears towards a more safer, secure, and a more serious industry, right? So Calvin, he's CTO of Pints AI. They create enterprise-grade sort of like a full stack platform that could in a way rival capabilities of a cloud hyperscaler, but their focus is on creating almost hallucination free reports at scale, right? And especially that the focus is on insurance, on fintech, on BFSI, the entire banking sector. He knows the problem statements of the customers. Not sure how many folks are from the BFSI sector, or how many of you guys been analysts in your life, and how many hours and days you spend creating reports again and again and again. Their solution sort of automates entire report generation. So to you, the question, how does decentralized models improve regulatory compliance and auditability for a financial client versus ChatGPT? I know what your response is going to be, but I just want to hear your thought process for the audience.
Right. So first of all, thank you for the introduction. That's very, very kind words that you have for us. And also to answer this question, I'm just trying to keep this interesting for the audience as well. So I guess I won't be using too many of the industry player anecdotes. Try to keep it more closer to heart. I think the whole point about decentralization or against ChatGPT as a whole is that ChatGPT is this one central figure. You can imagine it as a server somewhere. You can imagine Sam Altman's face somewhere that controls and holds all of your data. And whether rightfully or wrongfully, the versions of ChatGPT 1 after another, ChatGPT 4 after 3, 5 after 4, and eventually we have 6 after 5, is actually you guys. You guys are the products of the ChatGPT X, right? So we really don't know like at which point some of these data that we put into ChatGPT it's gonna bite us back. And at the same time, I think like from a privacy standpoint, does it make sense to even have a centralized, someone with so much power in terms of holding data and collecting them en masse to exist? So I think some pushback has to be there. And I think decentralization, if at scale, if possible, should be at a level where no one should be able to own the data, but yet everyone owns the data. No one owns the model, owns the flow, but yet everyone owns the flow. And then like we have like within Web3 all this self-regulating mechanism that can incentivize enactment and all that. I think that is quite a good future to work towards. And at the end of the day, like if you have corporates coming on board to also utilize these networks, just because they're secure, they're also traceable. I think they can potentially move a lot of workloads onto these chains or networks as well.
So, from what I understood, right, your solution is also on-prem because all of these enterprises and companies do not want the LLMs to get access to their data, right? So, in that sense, there's always a question of what value does open source models provide versus actually utilizing the enterprise version of ChatGPT or Perplexity.
Right. So
yeah, sorry. How do you tackle that for fancy?
Yeah. So anyway, we have not seen any of these questions, so I could be talking nonsense because none of this
He's not,
think on the spot.
He's a PhD from SCTV, and they've actually done like solid work. They've actually also created like a tiny small language model by distilling, like a large language model. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we are creators of models. So we do have a 1.5 billion parameter model. That people download it and use it and all. But specific to that question, right? I feel that in a lot of instances when we talk about private models on-prem, the fundamental issue that people are trying to get around is the fact that you need something private. And this need of something private may not need to be solved directly by just being on-prem. You can have many ways to solve it, but I don't think people view any of the big AI being Claude, Anthropic, your Perplexity or ChatGPT, OpenAI, kind of pledge to your data protection as a definitive way to say that, oh, my data is therefore private because they have pledged to do so. So therefore, many ways to skin a cat. On-premise is one big way, and it's the only way that we can't currently be a Web 2, right? So the only way that a Web 2 company knows how. But a Web 3, when we sort of integrate things in Web 3 and we get all this encryption and also decentralized sort of thing going on, it fundamentally solves the problem because like then no one holds your data to say that I have all jurisdiction over your data, right? So nothing is held hostage, everything is decentralized. Fundamentally, it's a solution as well, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Jackie, right? So I just met him like 2 hours back, right? And the first thing he talked about was like how he's working on some creative aspects of AI technology. So and that's very close to my heart because one of the things why we started Generative Beats was because I personally feel that generative AI is one of those technologies that sort of mimic the way like humans have evolved. I know it's like a huge analogy to make, but I've seen my daughter grow over the last 1-2 years, and just to see like the learning and the creative aspects of it, the LLMs are sort of mimicking basically what humans have been doing, right? We have a lot of conversations around productivity, cost cutting, savings. We rarely talk about how this technology is helping creators and creativity scale, right? Your experience in building these creative outcomes, what's your take on can decentralized models provide a better playground for creators compared to these closed source models?
So this is quite a lot of things to unpack, but maybe we first set off some questions right in the crowd. Any one of you is an artist or creative? No one? Oh, okay, awesome.
Quite.
So the usage of generative AI in the creative field can be quite a divisive topic. For every artist or creative you ask about LLMs or like Gen AI, one will say we love it, the other one will hate it. I think no other fields have had this much divisiveness in it. And when you peel the layers of this anger, some say anger, hatred even, it evokes very strong emotions in those practitioners. So let's do a quick thought exercise, right? Suppose you draw a drawing, right? You draw a drawing, it's on the table, nothing happens, you're happy. But what if I come over, I take your image, right? And I sort of copy and modify it, and then I submit it to an art competition, and I win it. How would you feel? You'd be mad, right? And more importantly, I win the competition, I win some money, and then I don't share the money with you. Doubly mad, right? So what I'm trying to get into here is the problem, or rather the issue, the challenge of attribution, right? When you use generative AI regularly, right? Like let's say in the regular field, we're not talking about decentralized yet. We're talking about, say, your vanilla LLMs and whatnot. There's no attribution to the original source content. How? Firstly, is how, right? How do you even do it? How do I attribute this image that I've generated from, say, OpenAI, for example, to the source materials that it was inspired from? I say inspired because that's how it works pretty much, right? Take the patterns, you distill it, and then you generate additional images based on the inspiration that it has. Now, so with that backdrop, it also creates this very fundamental feeling of unfairness within creators because they take their work and then the work is then, cast into the void of that is LM, and then something new comes up. Right, and it's so you feel this sense of helplessness, you feel this sense of powerlessness because as a creator, there's nothing you can do. Now, what if there's a way for you to understand and know where each and every piece of your work is going to? What if there's actually a way to attribute the value of your work? Now, this is the promise where decentralized AI comes in, right? Like the fact you're able to own your creative work, the fact that you're able to say, hey, this particular image of mine is able to train a model, and therefore whatever it made, whatever output it has, whatever creative outcome and the dollar value to it can then be traced back to me. Now this, the feel is a bit different. You now feel a bit better because you now know that, hey, actually, my output here is no longer stolen, right? Stealing, it's a very strong word to use, but that's how they feel about it within the community. So to answer your question, deAI is exciting in the sense that you are now able to attribute value to your work. And that's something that regular LMs have done and not been, and creators feel very unfair about. So this is how I position it.
So in a way, it's basically tokenization of ownership, right?
Yeah.
And then like a digital footprint to say that, like a stamp or like a signature to say that this is owned by you.
Yeah.
But when you look at, there's so many right now sort of cases against the big companies, right, where they used fair or unfair, whatever, but they basically use a lot of existing data of other platforms and content providers to train their models, right? And the jury is still not out on who's the right person. And in this case, what do creators do? Do they go to the decentralized AI models, right, open source use cases or examples to help them protect their IP, or should they still continue to build on top of ChatGPT, Claude, all the other private cloud providers, LLM providers, sorry.
Right, so if I'm understanding the question correctly, given that there's still a lot of ambiguity around the outcomes of these lawsuits, right? The jury is still out there on. It's quite exciting, right? Like when you look at the outcome, no matter what, right? Whether the publishers, for example, win or they lose, it's going to set the precedent ahead for many years to come as to how information is used for training LLMs. So before I answer that, right, I maybe look at a field that have seemed to excited creatives previously, NFTs, right? So let's talk a bit about NFTs. We can't go into the protection of IP for creative works without looking at things like NFTs. NFTs had very similar promises in the past, right? To protect one's IP, to monetize it, and to somehow attribute value to it. Has it fulfilled its promise, despite it being maybe 1 or 2 cycles ago? Again, jury is still out there. You have a very long tail distribution of people who benefited from this. And I imagine to be the same case for the next generation of technology, in this case deAI, right? The protection of IP through deAI.
Yeah, I wanted to avoid using NFT as an example, for the obvious reason, because there's like a fat cycle to it, but I do believe that there's like real value in ownership, like a digital ownership of content. Last sort of question, like a common one to all of you, right? So you already answered this, right? But I'll move on to then Calvin. Calvin, in your industry, right? Where do you see the future going? Is it something that the solution that you're trying to build for the BFSI sector, for insurance finance, you feel that the open source models will sort of win the game, or you'll still be in sort of a hybrid state or focus completely on pure play, big, large language models?
It's difficult to predict, honestly. Again, like I think that there's value to having open source models, in the sense that you have large models or very big companies that have a lot of resources that will train model for specific purpose, general purposes, which are like good for the general public. But then you're gonna have to need open source models to perform tasks that may not ordinarily be good for the general models to perform, because you probably want to fine-tune them into certain. I'll find it very difficult that, like, for example, you can use OpenAI or Claude to fine-tune a cancer, sort of like a cancer identification model. I think that they should be trying to fix that, but in the meantime, they are going after a different space altogether. So you're gonna have to have people have the resources, give them the resources, open source models to kind of do that. At the same time, I think like it's not so much about who will win, but that we will all be in the future where if you look at Web3, we know that we are going towards a future where we have we've broken down a lot of barriers of payments, by the way, right? I know it's a very quaint old thing, crypto and payment, but we've broken down a lot of barriers. So I think AI will likewise break down a lot of barriers in terms of things that we couldn't do before and now we can do, or we can free up time to, when the barrier to us ending work on time was that we still have hours of work to do, now AI can do it for us. Could be very, very exciting future to look forward to. Yeah.
Thanks, Calvin. So Tina, do you think open source models or closed source models are going to drive the next wave of innovation for content creation?
Yeah, every day it changes, right? It depends on which is the best one, and we work around with a lot of models, so we use open source models as well, and we have models like Anthropic models, OpenAI models. So when GPT-5 came, so there are different use cases that we are feeding models suit. Sometimes if you need a lot more inference, you need a lot more context window to give it a lot of data and to come up with an inference, to come up with some analysis. There are different models which will be used. And again, like I said, it also depends on what the client wants. Calvin said that some clients want things on-prem, some clients want it on their own secure cloud, some want to use it just like a SaaS. right? And for them, performance, cost. So there's so many factors that come into play, and it's very hard because things keep changing so dynamically, depending on. So what we try to do is try to keep up ourselves to recommend the right solution to the client, depending on what they are looking for. If they are price sensitive, then you would go with, something which works on their kind of data set. If not, then functionality, then you go with models that can serve them better.
So it's based on the use case and all.
Yeah.
There's a room to play for both
Yes,
sides.
for both, yeah.
Last question, Mackenzie. Yours is about building agentic flows, right? There are conversations of large action models coming up, right? So you have Manus AI, you have GenSpark, you've got multiple horizontal agentic players that are coming in. Same question, right? Do you feel that in this scenario, the future is going to be owned by open source models, or do you feel that you'll still be heavily, like relying on closed source models for large action and use cases?
And I think it's it's a slightly different question, very similar answer. I think it's going to really depend on the use case that the client is looking at. And in a sense, this is just like another technology wave. If we were sat on a panel years ago talking about the shift from on-premises to public cloud, I think it would be really easy to say like, hey, this new thing is going to be the thing and the winner. But then if we look at what's happened, so many have chosen to go for this hybrid model or do a bit of both. And I think the same is could be said here, really. There are pros and cons to both sides. I think with some of the decentralized sides of things, like you've got the pros of transparency, data sovereignty, but where things are today, you don't have the scalability or the integration with enterprise applications, for example, that you do with the large centralized models. But then you've got other challenges that come with that. So I think that there will continue to be advancements, but there's not going to be a winner. And I think having that choice is key.
Thanks, Mackenzie. So my final outcome of that conversation was that, as Jackie rightly said, it's a divisive world, right? So I think like both sides will have a play in the game, but depending on the use case and what the client wants, right? That's really key, because that's what we are here to deliver, right? To solve their problem, irrespective of the technology, tech stack, or whatever solution it is. You need to figure out how to solve that problem for the client. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on the panel. I hope it was conversational good enough. Yeah, we have a question. Yeah, we'll take one and then we'll close, because then I think there's the next one.
So maybe I shout from here. Sorry if I.
It's okay. You can take this.
Thanks. Sorry I came late. Maybe I missed the earlier session. But the first question I want to check is, how do you guys decentralize your AI model for the application? Open question, how do you guys decentralize your AI model or the application?
Decentralized, right? I think so. The first thing is that models may not just sit in one place. So you can have models sitting in different places, and it acts as a so decentralization down here helps with resiliency, in the sense that if some parts of the network will go down, you can then go for other places. But if you're talking about actual decentralization of like the model weights and layers, so that you can like shoot out one and then goes out to a decentralized network and come back, I think that technology is really there, and it's a very Web3 thing. I don't have the expertise to answer that, unfortunately. Yeah.
Anything else?
But maybe, so maybe your question behind that is because you want to know how to do decentralization?
Yeah, because our M all are dominated by the AI players.
Right.
So I wonder, how do you guys decentralize the AI model, or is it on another layer?
Maybe we take that offline. That's a yeah.
Okay, I think we do need to move on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
So thanks for that question.
Thank you.
I think that will be the end. But yeah, the folks in here, right? So definitely try and get a bite of their brains.
Thank you, everyone. So.
Thank you.